everybody. It's Friday. It's Thrive O'Clock. We're so glad that you're here. I am Melody McAllister. Oh my gosh, we've got people joining in. Tim, is that you? Teachers
Tim,
on
yep.
Fire. Yes.
Woo-hoo.
It feels like a Friday. Tim, are you still in school? Rachelle, I know you're doing school still. How are you doing?
I'm glad I'm sitting right now because it has been quite the week with final exams and everything. And oh my gosh, like it's exhausting. Everybody is totally exhausted. And but it's good. I mean, it's sad because yay, Mel from Colombia is joining in. Only a few weeks left. But it was like today was the last day for seniors. They had they come in the morning, they have like a senior Olympics event for them, and then they're still done early. And they all came back into school, and so many of them were so emotional. And it's students that, like, oh, I can't wait to get out of school. I can't wait to graduate. And, I'm not going to miss it. And, they had tears in their eyes. And it's like, it is hard. It's a big change. And so a lot of them stopped by. And one of my students yesterday, I walked in my room and there was a letter on my computer for me. And I cried a little bit.
Yeah.
Just, what she had written about, the 4 years she had me in class and stuff. And, it's just those little things. So it definitely helped because yesterday was my students were like, we've never seen you stressed. Like with everything you do, you've never been stressed. I go, well, nothing throws me off like a slight change in a schedule. So, but
I hear you.
Good.
So Tim says, oh, for sure. Last day of classes. What? June 22nd.
Wow.
That is a long time.
That
It probably is really hard to watch everybody else like not be in school and know that you still have weeks of school. And then the same goes when we go back to school. And, like my job, I don't get the summer off anymore. And I'm not even working only for myself anymore. Like I'm, no longer the hustle for me. I'm working for another company, which is great, but I don't get summer off at all. So it feels weird. I know teachers can appreciate that. Yeah. Okay, Mel. All right.
We are active today. See, people missed us and I've missed you too. It's been a couple of weeks. So it's good to be back and good to have people join in. So, and we're going to have a great conversation today too. So I'm looking forward to it.
We are, and we are so appreciative for those who are viewing, whether it's during the live or during the replay. We appreciate you. And actually, we've got some prizes coming up. Rachelle, tell us all about the prizes.
Well, thanks to our guest and where our guest is from, just going to say that we are giving away some copies of one of my books and Mel's books, multiple copies of them. So we'll let you know how to enter to win, but you don't have to actually be watching live because you do have the chance to, join in later and participate. And then we'll draw some winners and send some books your way. So
so
looking forward to
just,
that.
I don't know what we're going to do to make sure that you win, but if you want to win, you better start commenting. You better start participating. You better laugh when we say laugh, all of the good stuff. Okay. But yes, we have a great guest coming up. And I wanted to say, I wanted to go to shout outs.
Yes.
Do you have any shout outs?
Really quickly. Yeah. So I'm going to give some shout outs just in my students. I don't know. Sometimes they see these, but you sent me that box of props. Remember?
Yes.
So we've been using Flipgrid to communicate with students in Argentina and sharing videos back and forth. And then of course they've been using Spaces to do different videos. So I'm like, I need to take these in. So they put all of those, they all had them on, and we're doing, some videos and just entertaining. And today they did Just Dance and stuff. So I'm just thankful for like all that they did this week to like lift each other up, but also to kind of keep me motivated and like get through that stress together. It's just, I enjoy having them, and I'm thankful that I'm going to have them next year too. So it's been great to see them, grow throughout the year and build those relationships. So
I love that. And I love that the props are just so useful. I need to actually go get more props. Some of my props have been destroyed by my children. And so the props are wonderful. Adults like props, kids like props. It just kind of, some of my favorites are just, where do I go to? That Party City. I go to Party City and just grab. I have so many, like this headband was a prop, and now it's like my go-to. I'm not wearing it today, but we have a comment coming in. Okay. All right. Very good. Mel and Tim are having conversations. So that's cool. Okay. So I also have some shout outs. Okay. And I might want to give a prize out too, but Dean Gainey, if you are watching, I got to work with a couple of webinars with Dean this week, and he was amazing. And I'm trying to get him to ISTE. If you are going to ISTE, let us know. We'd love to know if you're going to ISTE, because Rachelle and I are prepping. And I feel like it's so close. Like the next few weeks are going to go by so fast. I got to meet with Victoria Thompson today. You might know her as Victoria the Tech, and Dr. Eileen Winokur. We were talking about our presentation that we're going to be doing together called DEI and the ISTE standards. So we're looking forward to that. And I'm just like, I went and got a few blouses to wear. I'm just so excited about going. A lot of, oh my gosh. And I want to share, I'm actually working with Tech, who does Otis for Educators. We're having a huge party night on Monday. So I will invite everybody to that. But yes, how do you feel? I can't wait for ISTE. And yes, those are my shout outs.
All right.
And I'm looking at all of these. Yeah.
Back and forth. No.
Yeah. Okay.
Not British Columbia.
Tim and Mel are confusing us. They're having their own conversation, which is great.
So we're gonna have our own conversation.
And no, we love them. It's totally cool. You guys keep on talking, because it's high five, because you're amazing. Okay, so now we have our guest. You want to talk about our guest?
Yeah. So you're gonna bring our guest up?
I'm gonna bring our guest up. Boom, he's here.
All right. So Trevor, welcome.
Yes. Hi, everyone.
And Trevor, this is the first time I'm getting to meet Trevor and have conversations. So I'm looking forward to it. But we'll let Trevor introduce himself and the work that he does. But I will say that the company that Trevor works for, Pikmykid, I learned about, and I met with and had conversations with their CEO and founder a couple of years ago, because I came across it at FETC, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like amazing. And just to see the growth and the impact. And so I'm excited to learn more about what Trevor does and what people think about it too. And we have some questions for you. So Trevor, how about you let us know, what your background is, what you do, and anything that you want to share and have people know about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Trevor Hewitt. I live in the Las Vegas area. I lived out here for about 8 years. Prior to that was living in Northern California. I have a 5-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son, who keeps us very, very, very busy. And that's actually one of the reasons I joined Pikmykid. So I joined Pikmykid about a year ago. I've been in ed tech for about 8 years now. I originally co-founded a company called Smart Care, which was a leading provider of childcare management software. So basically software to allow childcare center owners and directors to manage everything from point A to point B with their childcare centers. We got acquired by a company called Vanco that's in the K-12 space. And then I ended up there for about 6 months helping to integrate the companies, and then met our CEO and founder of Pikmykid. And we were talking about our children and school safety, and the vision of the company is very much aligned with mine, which is to keep children as safe as possible, as you can imagine. And so I joined Pikmykid about a year ago, and we provide software for schools, typically in the K-12 space, but we do have early education clients as well as after school clients, et cetera. And we offer a school safety dismissal suite. So everything from dismissal to a panic button to emergency reunification, whatever the needs are for that school or district, we're happy to provide.
Yeah. Well, and as I was an elementary teacher, the elementary that I worked with, we used Pikmykid for the last 2 years that I was there. I'm sure they're still using it. And it's, we went from a completely chaotic dismissal, and we were sometimes the number one largest elementary in our district. So we had like around 700 to 800 kids. And it's a lot of responsibility. And we did have, years and years ago when we first opened, we had a child get into somebody else's car. And for hours, we had no idea where this child was. It was horrible. Sure. And so there's just so much about safety and schools. And so I'm glad that you guys are doing what you're doing. It does help create some needed structure to what can be very chaotic. And, kids, sometimes they have their own agenda. You don't know what it is, and it puts them into danger. So so we're glad you're here, Trevor. And something I wanted to talk about, especially, and I hope that if you're watching that you'll come into this, this conversation as well, but especially with, what happened in Uvalde last week and always, and it's not just Uvalde, it's happening all the time in our country. But I wanted to talk about community. And it seems like every time something happens that is tragic, we seem to come together, but then we just kind of go apart again. And I hate for that. I think that the success that, people have in life is due to a thriving community. And I think a lot of times we don't have a lot of success because we're part of a toxic community or non-existent at all. And it just seems like right now, the community part for me, what can I do in my community to do better? What are your thoughts, lately?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the past couple of weeks here have been a little rough on our end too. I know we obviously put child safety at the utmost importance, and that's why we do what we do every day. For me, I think my take is a little bit similar to yours. I think what we're missing though is maybe the interconnectedness of the different communities. I think there are separate communities that, for example, children may have. There's their school community. There may be a faith-based community on the weekends, and then there's their family, their friends, and all these other communities. And what I've seen is that there seems to be, everyone's so busy these days. I mean, the world's, constantly evolving quicker than I think we're ready for it. Is that there's not a lot of interconnectedness between each of those communities. And I think if you can strengthen the bonds between those communities, you start to have a more congruent experience for children. And so I think that's really important, is so that, parents know what's going on at school, school knows what's going on at home. And again, every sort of all the other extracurriculars and anything else that might be happening on the weekends or in the evenings as well. I think it's really important to kind of combine everything into a really healthy experience for children.
I love that you said, Rachelle, make sure that you interrupt me because I'm going to go on my whole rants and stuff. So make sure that you stop me whenever you want to talk.
Okay.
I love that you said interconnectedness, Trevor. And I feel like somebody asked me, and I was on a podcast right after it happened, and somebody asked me as my take as an educator, what do you think could help these situations? And honestly, there's just so many things that we could say, and there's no one size fits all solution. But I just think that if we were seen more, like if kids knew that they were being seen more, and I'm not just talking about like watch to make sure they're doing right or wrong, but like that interconnectedness, I think is what is probably the best word for that. And to know that the responsibility of taking care of our children really does weigh, not just on schools and not just on like the businesses that support schools, but even on the jobs in the community where parents are, going back and forth. I mean, when it changes, we all need to change together and show that we're a part of it. If you look into Uvalde right now, like so many businesses are pulling together, and I would love to see more of this happening when there's not something tragic happen.
Of course. Of course. Yeah. And I think what we're also seeing too is a lot of these incidents are being done by younger people. So again, if we can catch them early, support them through their adolescent life, through their child years, we're going to have sort of more healthy, more stable adults on the back end. So yeah, I think it all starts very early. And I 100% agree with you. I think, again, going back to community, part of that is being seen, being more inclusive. Those things are really going to help sort of kind of spurn out, better adults, not just better children.
Yeah. And I had a thought too. So, when things like this, unfortunately, I mean, they happen, there've been, I think 27 or 30 incidents in school since the start of this year, which I was surprised. I mean, I know we hear about them, but I don't know that we've heard about all of them. But I wonder, and for anybody who's listening, I mean, maybe you're thinking this too, it's like when things like this happen, whether they're in a school or they're in some other type of facility, like obviously there's more awareness, there's a heightened awareness to it, and people are more sensitive, or you kind of like, you start to think about things differently, or you're more observant, or you think about like, what were the signs, or like all of that, whether you're involved in that situation or not. I mean, everybody is impacted, especially now looking at a school, educators, everybody that went to school the very next, I mean, not on the weekend, obviously, but like on that Monday morning, entered the school feeling differently. Because one, you're thinking about all of those families and what they were going through, but then also looking at your school and your classroom spaces and thinking, what if this would happen in my school? So I know you're like, is there a question there? So my question is, when things like that do happen, and unfortunately they do happen. I mean, I think back to, I remember like when Columbine happened and how long ago that was, and we saw it happening, the footage. I was in a study hall with students. And I'm sure that people then are looking for like solutions and answers and what could we have done differently? Do you see in your work that the schools either that you're working with are like reaching out to you like right away, like more like, what else do you have? What else can we do? Or that you have an increased demand to like that people are now talking, or they start to look and they see like, oh, here's this solution where it's like school safety, and you have this panic button feature, which is great. By the way, I found out more about it yesterday from Pat, because like of all of the different capabilities that it has. But, you know, do you notice an increase? And if so, like, is it something that continues to increase, or like Mel said, like it comes and then it drops off again? Like,
yeah, I mean, the good news is that if we're sort of speaking holistically over the past, let's say 5 or 6 years, you know, more schools are interested in providing a safer environment for their children. So I think that's sort of the first step, is that this is already an ongoing trend. Now, when incidents, unfortunately, like what happened again 2 weeks ago, occur, there is always an increased demand for safety products, whether it's security officers. I mean, that's a business all to its own. Whether it's what we do as a software solution, there's always going to be increased demand, and you're going to see sort of a short-term increase. But like I said, I think the good news is that overall, we're starting to see the idea of safety software at schools to become more and more ubiquitous. We're starting to see schools refer other schools who have either yet to think about it or yet to implement something to get on board with you know, the modern way to do things, which is to try and make things more efficient, optimize things, and in some cases make them more cost effective for schools and PTAs, et cetera. And even things like emergency reunification done via technology, you know, where if something was like this to happen somewhere, everyone knows what's going to happen next. Parents get texts, they meet safely for a few miles away from the school or wherever it might be. And being able to do that quickly and you know, with use of technology now that most people have some sort of technological device in their car, in their pocket, at home, whatever it might be.
right.
Those are all going to be improvements. Now, do we want any of these incidents to ever happen? Of course not. We work specifically to avoid incidents like this. But again, I think holistically speaking, the good news is that in general, in speaking about school safety over the past, again, 5-7 years, there's been a huge uptick in interest, which is great. But again, we're only reaching so many schools, and only so many schools are reaching out to us. We hope that one day, whether it's through one of us, one of our competitors, another vendor, another solution, that at some point all schools have maxed out on optimizing the ability to keep their children safe.
Right.
Yeah.
And really we don't want to just talk about like curbing the symptoms, and protecting our kids is one thing, but we're not the cure all. You know, it's like I said, it's going to take everybody in a community. And just like you said, our faith communities, you know, everywhere, we are really the village that we should be. We can do more. Another thing that somebody asked me, and like, what do you think would help? And one thing that I admire about Pikmykid is just the importance. Obviously, you couldn't do this without parents. Okay. And so any ed tech company that involves parents to the extent that, you know, makes them feel like they are part of the process and empowered, for me, gains my respect. No matter what the politicians are saying, like, I love parents, and most teachers I know love parents, and we want to support one another. And I just want to say that if there's a parent watching, I feel like when your school puts safety procedures in place, even if it feels like a hassle sometimes, respect it. We do what we do to keep our kids safe, and it can be a little bit on our nerves sometimes if we're in a hurry. But honestly, like, I think that would help as well. So I like Pikmykid. You guys are going to be at ISTE, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. So yeah, our sales team will be there, and would love to meet anyone and everyone who's there.
Yeah, and that. Oh, there you go. In the booth is set up there, and I know that I think it was FETC. I got to actually meet Pat in person for the first time. Like, it's such a nice experience to go, and then to just get to talk and see what it looks like. But you know, everybody that has used it, we were having a conversation yesterday talking about like the challenges with like the pickup, like when students are dismissed from school. And it's not something I have to experience at the high school. I mean, our students in the district I'm in, it's smaller, so some walk and some ride the bus. Right. But I have friends who talk about like, oh, I have to be there, and I have to be in this space, and this, you know, and just the story that, you know, like kids can get into the wrong car, or like, where is this student, and all of this. But it's not even that it's just confined to like the teachers and students and parents. I mean, it impacts the whole community. When Mel talks about like the importance of community, when we have conversations about like, what are the issues when it comes to safety, it's involving a lot of people in that conversation. And I think that's important to have students in too, especially if you are in a district like mine where students are walking. you may not necessarily know which is the most dangerous space to cross because the cars and the kids do. So you do your best, but until you actually bring more people into the conversation, and it might be people that are in the community that don't have kids in the school, but they're impacted as well. And so when you have more voices, then you have better perspectives and experiences. You have a more authentic and purposeful and relevant conversation. So you get results. And so I love hearing, and people need to know, like, well, this is what I hate about picking up after school or dropping off. And for teachers, this is what I don't like about it, because it takes time away from students. And we know how valuable that time is for instruction. So there's a lot of benefits with, having the right solution, the right choices. And I know I'm a classroom teacher, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's one more thing. But when you have one more thing that can do a lot of different things that like clear the list off of some other, applications that you have to use.
Nothing we do or teach is more important than keeping our kids safe. Nothing.
I know.
Because if we can't keep them safe, none of it matters. Trevor, before we get to our hysterical game that is coming up, I know we've been talking about a heavy topic, but I invented a game today just for Pikmykid, and it is going to lift our spirits. What is the most rewarding part of your job?
Yeah, I think it's the stories. It's I'm lucky. I'm in the customer side of things, right? So I'm talking to customers all the time. My team is at the front lines, speaking to customers all the time, and just hearing stories of how we've transitioned schools from either an unsafe environment or an inefficient environment to something now where they can free up time, do other things, or there have been no after school fights since we implemented Pikmykid. There's some schools, and I hope we all share the same feeling, that really care about carbon emissions, right? And so getting cars through the car line faster reduces carbon emissions. And so for me, it's really hearing about those unique stories and the unique reasons why, kind of the North Stars of the teachers and administrators I speak to, as to why they even began to seek out a solution, and then what the impact is, of course. And hearing those stories is great. So, you'll hear, especially over the past couple of years with COVID and workload shortages and, bus driver shortages, et cetera, hearing about some of the efficiencies we've been able to create at those schools, hearing now that those teachers and administrators can work on other projects that they've wanted to work on forever, now that dismissal is handled or whatever it might be. So for me, it's those personal stories. That's kind of what drives me every day. And that's kind of what's driven me throughout my career in the customer success field. So I think that's it for me, is just, again, those unique personalized stories and us being able to kind of create connections with clients and customers, and sometimes create wow moments for them. If someone's on maternity leave, being able to send them a maternity gift or whatever it might be, like those kinds of things. We just love that. We treat our clients as friends, and we want to, so be on that level with them at all times. So I love that aspect of it.
Awesome. I'm so glad that you're here and sharing with us. That is so cool. Okay. Are you ready to have some fun and maybe laugh and pee a little bit because you laugh so hard?
I am. I have jackalopes on my wall, so I'm definitely ready.
There you go. I love it. I was wondering what those were. My eyes are so bad. I was like, are those baseballs? That's terrible. Okay. So I invented this stupid game today, but I don't think it's that stupid, because if it makes you laugh, it's not dumb. But when we think of kids, we think of like the honest things that kids say. And sometimes they're kind of cruel, and sometimes they're just funny. Sometimes you just got to get over yourself and laugh. So I'm going to read I did a little research actually for this game. I am going to read some very, very embarrassing moments that kids have made happen. Thank you, kids. Keep them coming. And whether your own kid, your own student, or you, even as a kid, hopefully you would have done this as a kid, or whether you just think it's funny, I'm going to read the situation. And if it is something that you've experienced or just think is hysterical, you just get to say, Pikmykid. Isn't that so easy?
Love it. Let's do it.
It's such an easy game. And I think you're going to enjoy it. All right. So any questions before we get started?
No, let's go for it.
All right. So the first one, and remember, if it's funny or you've experienced it, and if it brings up something embarrassing that will also make us laugh, feel free to share. Those of you who are watching, or Rachelle and Trevor. Okay. When our neighbor asked my son what I did for a living, he said I sold drugs. I'm a pharmaceutical rep.
That's funny, yeah. But the similar one for me is that my son says I make phone calls. That's
really.
And what's really funny is anytime I'm wearing a collared shirt to go out, he says, "Phone call? You have a phone call?" And I said, "No, we're just going out to dinner." So he associates any collared shirts with phone calls. It's pretty funny.
Oh, and it's like anytime away from his dad, like if you're going to be on a phone call, for sure. Exactly. My daughter ran up to a fat man whose belly was hanging out of his t-shirt and tickled him while saying, "I see your belly."
Luckily, I haven't experienced anything like that. But my kids like to talk about going to the bathroom in public all the time.
Oh my gosh!
And
Always. So we
so
have some of those coming up, Trevor.
They will come out of a bathroom and just scream, "I went potty," those kinds of things, and they're super proud of it. So. Anyway.
My son, and I don't know that you heard it. He's like, "Wipe my butt." Somebody. Okay. Anyway, so Pikmykid. All of these things, I could imagine something happening with my children.
Yep.
Am I supposed to be yelling like "Pikmykid"?
Yes. Like either hallelujah, but Pikmykid, if you want.
Oh my gosh.
Or you can just laugh.
I'm laughing for sure.
Okay, this one is, oh my gosh, my 4-year-old, and it's funny because this is a 4-year-old, and this is so true to what my 4-year-old would say. Maybe, okay, my 4-year-old nephew saw an older gentleman with a big white beard at the store. What do you think he yelled?
Santa Claus.
Hey, Santa.
Yeah, for sure.
Pick my kid.
That's definitely Pikmykid for sure.
Pikmykid for sure. Yes. And my kid is obsessed. My 4-year-old is obsessed with old people. We have an older neighbor, and he's always telling our friend Clark, like, "Are you an old man?" Asking him that. And they also ask my husband, "Are you an old man? Because you look old."
I get that. I get that from my kids all the time. They call me old man. So yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Stacy knows this.
Stacy, yeah.
Stacy knows this. Okay. All right. Are you ready for some more?
Let's do it.
Yep.
Oh God, it's getting better.
Oh geez.
A cashier at the store had a mole with hair coming out of it.
Oh,
My daughter asked, "Do you know there's whiskers coming out of that booger on your face?"
Ouch. No, thank goodness. Nothing like that yet.
No, never.
Sorry, that's so funny. All right, now everybody's going to be checking their moles to see if there's whiskers coming out.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, another. And Rachelle, I can't see the screen, so if anybody yells, "Pikmykid," you just pull it up.
I will.
My son was visiting me at work when he pointed to a pregnant coworker and said, "I see your belly. I know what you did."
Oh, that's great. No, but I do, after a big meal, I get asked by either my son or daughter different times if I'm carrying a baby. So,
really?
Yeah, they're very excited. I hate to break it to them. It's not coming.
And they're how old did you say? 3 and 5?
3 and 5, yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. That would
I would
be
have
fun.
to say Pikmykid to this. My kids are all obsessed with, even the boys, like, someone's having a baby. Anyway, I had diabetes when I was pregnant with my youngest, but my oldest told everyone I had diarrhea.
Well, at least he's not giving away your medical secrets, right? So
Oh,
I don't know, but is he, or okay, this gets away from a little bit of the bellies and stuff. The day before I was going to buy a new van, my daughter told the cashier at the supermarket, "My mom is getting a new man."
Oh, jeez. Pick my kid? No, I don't know. I just felt like I needed to
just say it.
Say it. Yeah.
Somebody say it. Where's your mom? Rachelle, your mom is usually always enjoying Pick my kid.
Yeah, and you know what that reminds me of, like the telephone game, or just how things change so quickly. Like you think you hear something. Tom Murray, whenever he does, I think it's Tom Murray when he gives his keynote, he plays like Bon Jovi song, and he's like, "Here's what the actual words are."
Oh yeah.
And it's like, oh, I totally had that wrong. So it's just funny how things are, lost in translation.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Even a song you've heard 1,000 times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And then especially "Blinded by the Light." You know what I'm talking about. That one just came up. You know what we thought the words were. Are you ready to hear one more, 2 more?
Let's do it.
Go for it.
Okay. There's a couple that I've left off on purpose, so I didn't want to offend Rachelle.
Let's do those.
And some of them are just plain mean. Okay, this one. As we showered at the pool, my nephew pointed to the man beside us and asked, "How come his is so much bigger than yours?"
Oh, that's really funny. Pick my kid.
Pick my kid. Oh my gosh.
Something similar, but I don't want to offend Rachelle.
Oh my. I'll disappear.
Oh my gosh, yes. Is that we could go out with the bag, or here I have one more. Let me do one more, okay?
Okay, make it.
One more. This is kind of funny. And it gets away from private parts. But
Don't
after
make
we
me
go
blush.
after we go offline, I'm going to share you the ones that I didn't say that have involved private parts that are hysterical. That I cried. Okay, this is our last one, everybody. We're going to say goodbye in just a moment, but hang on. This last one. When and I know my kids. This is a Pikmykid for us. When my daughter's preschool teacher asked her if she had a fun weekend, she replied, "We went on a beer run."
What was she meaning to say? That's really good.
No, I think.
Oh, you actually went on a beer run. She just actually.
Yeah, like
Got
beer
it, got
runs
it.
are real
That's so
things,
funny.
right?
Got it. Makes sense.
You know, and y'all know that whatever you're doing at home, it is said at school. It doesn't matter how old your child is. If it's happening at home, it's being shared at school.
Yeah, they do
it's funny.
too. I hear stuff all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, we went somewhere for breakfast one day or something, and there was my daughter said she wanted something, and my wife said, "No, that's alcohol," and she just said really loud, "I want alcohol." And so I just figured the only thing I could see at that time was, "Honey, only at home, only at home."
Oh, jeez.
Everyone was looking anyway. It was just like, I'm going for it.
Oh my gosh.
My 4-year-old said, my husband and I love the apple ales, and we were drinking like an angry orange. What are those things called? Yep. The hard cider.
Yep.
And Whit said, my 4-year-old, he's like, we said why he can't drink it, and he's like, will alcohol kill me? And or like, will it poison me? Like, and we're like, actually, yeah, it will, but not all. Like, we try to be truthful. Like, too much of it will. Like, I don't want him to be afraid that we're drinking poison. So.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, maybe we should not drink. Anyway, Pikmykid, they would say that. So you can visit Trevor's team at the ISTE booth 2744 in NOLA. We hope that you're going, and we hope that everybody has a great weekend. And we always ask before we say goodbye, are there any last words that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think just, we're heading into summer here, and I know that some of you are still in school, but hopefully the rest of you are out or about to be out. And I just know we've had a couple of kind of crazy, rough years over the past 2 or 3. And so, we only get so many summers, and that, we always kind of tell our kids that, but that also goes for us. So take some time to enjoy it, whether that's a weekend in nature or, a walk in the sunshine every day for a few minutes. Just try and enjoy the good weather and breathe deep, and we'll go into next year, hopefully having a lot of this hopefully behind us. But yeah, no, just want to thank everyone on this call and everyone who's in the education business, because again, you guys are doing amazing work, and we see it because we're talking to you guys all the time, and we're just here to try make your jobs easier and more fulfilling. So
yeah, I love that. Good advice.
And Rachelle, did you want to say a little bit more about how to win books?
Oh, yes. So good thing you said that. You can enter anywhere you're watching. So we have LinkedIn and the comments on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. And whether you join us live now or you are checking us out later, post a comment, follow Pikmykid, Mel, and myself, and just let us know, anything that you want to share about what we've talked about. Just say hello. And then after, Mel and I will talk, and we'll draw some names from those of you that have commented and participated in our game and in the conversation. Or
PayPal me, just saying.
No. And then we will be in touch, and we'll contact you and let you know what you've won. So thanks to Pikmykid for that opportunity to share our books and to support us, and educators, and for Trevor for joining us today. So
thanks for having me.
Yeah, we hope you have a great weekend, and I'll be back on Monday night with some of the contributors to my recent book, Things I Wish ... New. So I will see some of you hopefully back then. And Mel, I'll see you next Friday.
Yeah,
well, I'll actually see before that, but
yes. And join me if you want to talk about the journey for self-love. I will probably be doing that this Wednesday as well. Yes, Livia, thank you so much. Thank you, Mel. Thank you, everybody. Stacy, for joining us today. You guys are amazing. We'll see you again. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Thanks, everyone.